So, are you looking at the world and feeling like you might be a little bit powerless to do anything about it? Well, today let's talk about two things that you can do as photographers to give yourself a bit of control back and help the world be a better place. Welcome to Cameras and Cocktails, and today a little bit of a format change up based on your feedback over the past few weeks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the cocktail, tell you what it tastes like, we'll talk, and then at the end I'll show you how I made it. Sound good? Cool. Thank you guys for the recommendations on that approach. I think this will work well. Now that is a fairly pretty cocktail. I really love the color. The look up here with the blood orange is absolutely delightful. I think this is, the only complaint I have about these flutes is that they are a bit hard to drink from. Let's try this just straight. That's very sweet. I actually really like the way that the cupcake Prosecco mixed with the Kir liqueur. Squeezing that little bit of of blood orange into it rather. Really nice touch. That the sourness of the blood orange really offsets the sweetness of the black currant liqueur, and it's still nice and fizzy. That's a really refreshing cocktail, and thank you, Monsieur Golem, for the recommendation. This is not one I would have tried otherwise. So let's talk about what we can do as photographers in the world. I know, because I talk to you guys, that a number of you out there are feeling completely powerless, that there's nothing whatsoever that we can do, or that there is very little, because we're just the little guy. We're fairly inconsequential. That we're kind of caught up like a canoe in a gigantic ocean storm. We have no control over what's going to happen. So I want to talk about two things you can do that can help. They're going to seem little. They're going to seem inconsequential. But if you get in the habit of these, the right time and place, these two things can be incredibly consequential and beneficial when needed. The first one is carry a camera all the time. You're a photographer. You should be in that habit anyway. Don't just carry one camera, carry two. It doesn't have to be two film cameras or anything, or two digitals. Your cell phone and an independent camera. The second one is engage with people in the real world. So let's talk about those in order. Related to the first item of always carry two cameras. If you see something going on, that gives you the ability to record it. Now always bear in mind, know the laws of the jurisdictions you're in, so you know if you can legally record it. Are you legally obligated to put your camera away if the police tell you to? Are you legally obligated not to record the police ever? Those are some important things you need to know if you see an abuse of power going on. And if you do, a good instinct is to reach for your camera and record it. Cameras rely on facts. They are witnesses to truth by their very nature. Yes, of course, video can be faked by AI very simply anymore. But real video, made with real cameras, it can only record things that actually happen, whether it's with stills or video. But the key takeaway from that is that your camera is a witness. A video or a still from a camera is a recording of something that actually happened. Okay? Always bear that in mind. If something came from a camera, if it was not artificially generated, if it was not edited in post, it is a thing that happened. Okay? So as photographers, be in the habit of keeping one or two cameras on you at all times. Okay? Second one, talk to people in the real world. What do I mean by that? Like literally, I mean talk to people in the real world. Go to places where other people are and engage with them. I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I was at Alamo before a movie, and just started talking to some guy who was sitting next to me. Turned out to be really interesting. Also worked in IT, and well, my last job was IT, but at any rate, so we were just chatting about his work and my work. He worked in government contracting. I've worked in government contracting for 2 decades, so I'm really familiar. I work on the marketing side of it, so I understand like the money flows and how to win work, and he was on the implementation side, so he didn't understand any of that. So he ended up just picking my brain about how the procurement side of government works, and I ended up picking his brain about how the operations side, I've worked in operations, but about how the implementation side in the field goes for his work. And it was a great conversation. I chat with people in the mailroom. I've made friends in my apartment complex, or acquaintances maybe in the mailroom, just chit-chatting. I'm very good friends with my mailman. So that's not the only place. You don't just have to rely on happenstance to meet people. Here in Colorado, in Denver, there's something called the Colorado Photographic Arts Center, CPAC. I think that's what the acronym is for. They have a free museum that shows 2 exhibits. I think 2 exhibits right now. I think it's always 2 exhibits. You can just walk in there and walk around and look at the photography from other photographers. Look for their events. Meet up with other photographers in the real world. Get to develop that community. Meeting up with people in the real world is fundamentally different than meeting up with people online. It's fine and it's good that we have this community here that we have in this channel, which is sizable, and that we have the discussions and the engagement that we have, which I do get quite a number of comments. I think a large number of comments for the size of channel that I have with people who have information to share, especially on videos like this. But online communities are easy to join and easy to leave. We're just screen names. I know what very few of you look like. I recognize your screen names. I recognize the icon that you have. But if you change your screen name and change your icon, fundamentally you would probably just be a different person to me, at least insofar as my perception goes, correct? I'd say that's a fair statement. But if you have people you see in the real world, whether it's at a photographic meetup or a photographic center or at a restaurant you go and visit every couple of weeks, if you have that group of people you see in the real world, once you are in that community, it's much harder to leave that community because the people there will care about you and they will check on you and they will ask how you're doing and if you're coming back, and they will come visit you. And when you have that connection with people that is real and not online and not this virtual connection that we have, you will find that your community is more engaged with you and your well-being, and that you in exchange will become more engaged with your community and your community's well-being. And that's incredibly, incredibly important. Because when you engage with someone in the real world, that is something you can verify as having happened. The conversations I have had with friends in person, I know that they happened, right? There is nothing between me and that conversation that could lead me to believe that it didn't happen, because I was there. So the point of that, there are 2 things that you can do starting today to help make the world a better place and to help give you a sense that you are contributing in a meaningful manner. Always carry a camera, or 2 preferably. Meet people in the real world and become part of a real-world community. Turn off the computer. Use the computer to find a real-world community if you need to. And then go be part of it. Leave the computer at home. When you are with people in the real world, with your community, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. All right, give your attention to the people who are standing in front of you or sitting in front of you. Those 2 things are very consequential. They sound small, but they are major, major things you can do. That's today's video. I'm very interested to hear about your thoughts, especially if you have been trying to do those 2 things. And if this was interesting, we will continue with videos in this vein that give you guys ideas about how to do something beneficial for the world, especially when it feels like we are inconsequential and incapable of making change. Now, let's make that Kir Royale. So today we're going to make a Kir Royale. It's basically Kir de Cassis, which is a black currant liqueur, and a white champagne. I do have a white wine, typically the Kir Cassis, or cassis, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is made with white wine. The only French white wine that I have is from 2011. It's the Chateau Bastor La Montagne. I'm not going to use this in a cocktail. So we're going to use some cupcake Prosecco, which is a product of Italy, not France. I apologize to the Kir Cassis purists. This is what I have. So we're going to make a Kir Royale. Really, that unscrews? Okay. So the Kir Cassis, Kir Royale is basically the same thing. It's 9 parts wine or Prosecco to 1 part Kir Cassis. This is a 7-ounce, if I go up here to the surface tension, flute. So we're going to fill it about 6 ounces. Actually, we're going to go even cheesier than that. We're going to do 5 ounces because the math is just simpler. That means 4.5 ounces of Prosecco and 1/2 ounce of Kir cassis. And we're going to garnish it with some blood orange, which I have already taken the liberty of stealing part of because I am making some orange rosemary bitters. Okay, 4.5 ounces of Prosecco. Oh, well, that is not going to work. We're just going to eyeball this. I know that 6 ounces is right about here. So that looks like about 2.5. That's pretty darn close to 4. That is a mixing Prosecco. Wow. Okay. 1/2 ounce Kir cassis, black currant liqueur, 1/2 ounce of that. That is super thick, holy cow. Oh, and very rich. That's a lovely color that made. All right, we're going to garnish it with me not cutting my mic cord, preferably. Going to garnish it with some blood orange here. Now that is a fairly pretty cocktail.